Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, your significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, this show is for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create a life you love or love the life you create. Now, here's your host, Dr. April, and co-host Coach K.
Show where intimacy is real. How are you doing, Coach K?
I am doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Yes, yes. So as we enter this month of August, which is like, oh my gosh, the whole summer has just gone by.
Right. It's so quickly. It's just like, boop, boop, boop. We're here now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. And many of our people are out there getting kids ready for school, which is...
Yep, I have 3 to get ready for school still. A lot earlier this year than normal. No more going back in September. It's the end of August, so it's just all a blur at this point.
Yes. Well, I don't know if you know about this great organization to help people get their kids ready for school, which is called Schools on Wheels. It's a nonprofit that we're sponsoring this month, and it provides educational resources for school kids. So if you're thinking about, hey, we need some extra help on finances or whatever, school supplies, definitely think about schoolonwheels.org.
Oh, that is nice. I didn't even know about. That's why I love this show, because you bring forward so many programs that people wouldn't otherwise know about. And this is a great thing.
Yes, yes, because especially if you have a lot of kids, this is a wonderful organization. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, which segues into our next thing. People with a lot of kids and people maybe who don't have kids. One of the great ways of getting kids or just having pleasure is what we're going to talk about today, which is
I'm here for it. I'm all here for it.
Yes, yes. So we are going to talk about how do we ignite sexual desire and pleasure.
I love that. Just the title alone, igniting it. You think of just getting it started.
Right, right. And I know I see a lot of couples who just struggle with that.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Especially after they have kid 1 or 2 or whatever the case may be. They just, and I'm a believer, and I'm a spiritual believer also, that sex is not just for having kids. It's for pleasure.
Absolutely. Especially being the species born with just a pleasure tool, we know that.
Yes, yes, yes. So we have an expert. I mean, this is what she does, is help people have sexual desire in a variety of different ways with passion. Yes.
Passion.
Yes. So when we come back, we're going to meet the famous Tilly Storm, and we'll be back in a moment.
Are you wanting a vacation in paradise? Vacation to reignite the passion, the desire in your relationship? Vacation counseling is just for you. We are deeply committed to your success as a couple. Our couples counseling retreats are exclusive, effective, and intimate. At Vacation Counseling, you will benefit from a combination of couples counseling, intimacy counseling, and individual counseling while you and your partner enjoy a relaxing vacation in sunny Southwest Florida. If you are interested in vacation counseling, please visit us at vacationcounseling.com for more information on prices and packages.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Welcome, Tilly. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes. We're so excited to have you because you are someone who is an expert, on pleasure and sexuality. And let me just give you guys a little bit of what she is. She's a Tantra and Jade Egg teacher, which all of us are going to be like, what is Jade Egg? What is Jade Egg? And she's going to teach us. She uses deep transformational tools and techniques based on somatic experiences. And she helps people resolve trauma, but she also uses tantric wisdom that's ancient and practices to help women transform their blocks to pleasures. Because it's really important for us to have pleasure, and that she helps bring confidence and connection. So she's helping us reach our fullest potential and power. Awesome.
It's a good description. Yeah.
Yes. So our show is about intimacy. So one of our first topics that we like to get at is, what is your definition of intimacy?
I think that intimacy is any sort of sensual exchange with another person, meaning sensual, meaning like present moment. I'm really there with you, So you could be intimate with a child, you could be intimate with a friend, you can be intimate with a lover. I think it's definitely not synonymous with sex or sexuality. I think they're very different things.
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because go on.
As I said, we have to just continue to remind people that those are two separate entities so that we can get back to just more intimacy in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I was even thinking, even when you're doing that self-intimacy, it's really important, of being fully present.
Yes, for sure. Being present with yourself, being present in your life, which is something that so many women struggle with, is being fully present and in the moment, because there's so many other things dragging for our attention, especially for moms too.
Right, definitely. Mm-hmm. So in the description, I said two words that I know some people know and some people don't. The first one is Tantra.
Yeah. And what is it? Is the great question of all time.
Yes.
Well, Tantra is a spiritual tradition, and there's two different routes of it. When we're talking about Tantra, most people are talking about the spiritual tradition that really actually has nothing to do with sex or sexuality at all. It can incorporate a person's sexuality, and it doesn't deny someone's sexuality, where there are many Western religious belief systems that, ask you to give up your sexuality, like especially in the Catholic faith, and, all these things where you don't have a partner, you don't get married, and you devote yourself to God. And in the tantric tradition, it very much incorporates someone's sexuality as like, hey, we get to look at this, this gets to be a part of our life no matter what. So it doesn't deny someone's sexuality or ask you to not participate in it through the course of life, which is pretty unique to the tradition, because there aren't many spiritual traditions or religions that do that. But there's also Neo-Tantra, which is much more modernized version that has a lot more to do with sex. And this came from a famous practitioner, Osho, who some people may have heard of because he has a lot of books. But Osho brought about the neo-tantric practices, and these were really about helping a person liberate themselves in life, but a lot of them really applied to someone's sexuality, to help them liberate themselves in their sexuality, to where that they could feel free in their sexuality, they could feel good and whole and like it was a sacred part of them. So the neo-tantric practices became pretty popular in the West over the last couple decades. So yeah, that's what we mean by Tantra. It's mostly the neo-tantric practices.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah. And then the other thing is that you are a Jade Egg teacher.
Yes. The Jade Egg it's an egg-shaped stone that you put in your pussy. And you do different squeezes, releases, breathwork practices. It's basically like yoga for your vagina.
Okay.
Have you ever been to a yoga class, either of you?
Oh, yes. I love yoga. Yes.
I do a couples yoga class here.
Yeah. And have you ever been to a yin or restorative yoga class?
Yes.
Not me.
Okay. So if you were to think of a yin or restorative yoga class, the Jade Egg practices are kind of like that. It doesn't look like someone's doing very much, but it just involves really meditative breathing states, doing certain squeezes and releases in the pelvic floor and the vaginal canal. It is definitely one thing that the Jade Egg practices. It is not wearing the Jade Egg in your pussy and hoping for magic to happen. That's what many people, they get the idea that, oh, if I just put this thing in my pussy, I put a rock in my pussy, everything's going to be great. No, it's a very intentional practice, and there's lots of foundational and energy practices that don't even involve you using the Jade Egg. So it's really about learning how to work with sexual energy and to help bring that online. So when a person doesn't have a lot of desire, or they're not really feeling it, they lost their mojo, all the things, if they start tuning into that sexual energy and begin to cultivate it consciously through practices like the Jade Egg practice, it starts to bring their sexual desire back online, which is why I teach it in the first place.
Right. So, for those people who are out there listening, and maybe they've like lost their sexual desire, you know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
they're so busy with life, or have had baby 1, 2, 3,
Mm-hmm.
they don't feel sexual. Is
Yeah.
this something that they could use?
Absolutely. I teach all of my female clients this practice in either private or group work, because this is the number one holistic tool that I can give a woman to teach her that is highly, highly effective to really bring her sexuality online, to reconnect her somatically to her body, to her pussy. So she starts paying attention to what she's feeling down there, because many women, they feel really numb and disconnected in their bodies. They feel like they can't connect down there. So using like an actual thing inside of you, it's creating more sensate focus, and it's registering to your brain, hey, what we're feeling down there is important. Like, let's begin to pay attention. So it starts to bring back sensation online. So you can feel things and eventually become sensitized and have better and longer lasting orgasms and all that stuff.
And on your own terms, which is, I think, part of the more important part of what you're teaching is you're doing this on your terms versus another person inserting, and it's almost a mutual terms that may not agree with your terms. So I love this practice.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of women really working on their sexuality on their own, because if you have blocks and hangups to it, when you just do the work yourself, a lot of times that shifts the friction and tension that you're feeling in your relationship. A lot of women will ask, early on, not many people ask me that anymore because I talk about it quite often, but doing this work together, there's a place for that. And, but if you really want to go deep and heal and integrate some blocks and obstacles you've got to your pleasure, doing this on your own, it's your job to do on your own. Yeah.
And I was just thinking, some people may think they can just go buy this Jade Egg and insert it. What's the benefit of having a teacher? You know what I'm saying? Versus just,
Right. Well, I think it seems obvious, but many people think that they can do it, and that,
Right.
they DIY things, and that's great, but only 20% of humans are really self-motivated. So there aren't many people that are going to get great results doing that. However, there are some people that probably will. So having the support and accountability and knowing the nuances of the practice. I mean, there's literally so many practices. It takes me 5 months to teach people the practice and to really be able to make an entire transformation, like a complete shift in their sexuality. It takes about 4 or 5 months. So, you got to show up regularly. You got to do the things. And most people aren't going to do that with accountability support. But also, like, the whole purpose of the Jade Egg practice is to bring up everything that is ready to be healed and integrated and loved. All of the shadow pieces, the guilt, the shame, the disgust, the fear that you have around your sexuality. I know this is really deep, but that's what I do. I go deep to the root of these issues. And the jade egg, energetically, if you're into the woo crystal aspect of things, do you like that sort of
Yes,
thing?
yes, definitely.
Okay. Well, in the tradition, you only ever use jade, 100% nephrite jade, or obsidian, because they're very yang, masculine stones, and you put a masculine energy in a very yin, feminine vagina, and it balances the energy. So it's like it's pushing up all of your unlooked at
Right.
things to the surface. So you get to look at them. And having, someone like me or anyone to really process these deeper epiphanies that might be coming to you. You might be in a Jade Egg practice and all of a sudden you feel this deep layer of shame or disgust come up and you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So then it's a huge benefit to have someone like us to be able to process and integrate. And how do you work with that shame? How do you work with that disgust? And because that's where, the work really is. You can do the practice, but most people are going to have some sort of reaction to it, or something's going to come up where they're going to need that deeper layer of support.
Right. Because if you don't have a teacher and that comes up, most people just stop.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this didn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, in the services you provide, are these individual services? Group services?
I have an amazing group program. I'm just continuously impressed at the level and caliber of women and the results and transformations that happen. I've been running this specific program for 2.5, going on 3 years now. And we've had over 90 women do it, and they just get the most amazing transformations and results. So yes, the group program is definitely my number one. Let's start here.
Awesome.
And like really go deep into your things. And then if there's still more that you want to, if you want to learn all the 8 different types of orgasms and begin having all of those and become multi-orgasmic, all that stuff, sometimes that will require continual private work with me where we can really have the time to take you there too.
Nice.
Yeah. I know a question that's on everyone's mind, or I'm assuming maybe it's on my mind. In your classes, are you utilizing the egg right then, or it's at another time and people know, hey, this came up?
Yeah, so we do live Jade Egg practices. Yeah, it's just me leading and guiding with music. I do an extended 45-minute session with people to really take them into their body, because as the two of you know, I'm sure it takes women's bodies sometimes 30, 45 minutes to get really turned on and to unlock the pleasure potential that's there. But sometimes we just don't give ourselves enough time to really go there. We have that little thought in our head, am I taking too long? All that's going on that we often get to see. So when we're in an extended session like this without the goal of orgasm, there's never a goal of a particular experience. There's never something that we're trying to get you to. It's really just allowing you and teaching you how to feel what's in your body and how to breathe through what's in your body and release it, because all of us are already multi-orgasmic and capable of all the things. And it just takes going in, allowing ourselves to feel probably some uncomfortable things, which is where most people stop, which keeps a lot of people from doing any of this. They don't want to feel the things. They don't want to take the time to really process and integrate. So they never experience all the good stuff. But if you can just be a little brave and courageous and go there, the rewards are wonderful.
Yes, it's getting to that rough start to get to that smooth finish. So I guess having a guide through that is definitely beneficial.
Yeah, and there's shorter practices too. Like I work with women who've who don't have any kids, but many of them do. And some of them have 4 and 5 kids, and they have full-time jobs, and they still do these things, still make time for it. So there's shorter practices that I give them to do on their own, but it's really those long, deep dives that create some massive experiences and shift for people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I was just thinking, many women have a hard time even saying the word sex, or even coming to talk about sex or intimacy. And I'm assuming Coach Case sees the same thing. And then you're at this other level, where they can even start to experience a little bit of pleasure and how that process works. So what do you do to the women who are very shy? You know what I'm saying? They can barely say sex, and to come to this type of group, it's like,
yeah, girl, I know what you mean. I've got some clients that have never bought a sex toy before.
Right.
And when they, I have them get a glass dildo because we use that for de-armoring and trauma release in the program. So some of them, and the word pussy, that'll trigger them. And like, oh my God, I can't say that word. So we definitely have women that have deep religious shaming and conditioning. I had that. I grew up Southern Baptist, and that was.
I shouldn't say that.
Right, Southern Baptist turned Tantra teacher. What a story. Yeah. So that was really my foray into sexuality work, is that I felt very limited in my experience of pleasure. I could only have an orgasm in one way. And I knew somewhere, somehow, that it was because of how I was raised, and I was right about it. I started the Jade Egg practice because I heard that it could help you release some of this shyness, this awkwardness. I used to feel so awkward in my body. I'm kind of quirky, and
yes.
I remember never wanting to have sex without a shirt on, or all that stuff. So doing the Jade Egg definitely released. It brought up all that stuff where I got to look at it and really, take it head on and be like, okay, let's process the shame and this massive disgust around the body. So, I mean, it's very powerful. But women who are shy, I get it. I've been there. And I work with people like that. So it is a stretch for them, but you just, you got to be willing to go there, because if you're not, you're probably not ready to work with me, and that's okay. Everyone gets to start at the level that feels comfortable for them. But generally the people that have that level of shame and disgust, they've probably done some therapy already. And then they're just like, okay, like, I really want to go deep, Tilly. And I'm like, okay, let's go. We can do this. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, and you deal with a lot of trauma and stuff. And so do they process that in the group? Was that a separate thing?
Yeah, well, it is a hybrid coaching program. So we do have group coaching sessions, and then we have private breakthrough calls. And in the private breakthrough calls is where we really get to process and integrate the trauma pieces that are coming up. And that's where we have time and obviously some one-on-one attention to be able to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
So do you run across many women who are just kind of hesitant to even try it? They kind of reach out to say, hey, I'm having this issue and I know I want to do something. And then you say, hey, well, we have this egg. And then they're like, whoa. Do you come across a lot of women who are in that space of just do some external things to me?
No, I think that's because I've been doing my podcast long enough. They've been listening to my podcast long enough that I'm not going to even, no, like I don't need to convince you of anything. If you're not ready, don't schedule a call with me,
That's good though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe when I first started, I got some people that were really skeptical of it, but very quickly it was just like, then you're just not ready for it.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I have doctors and nurse practitioners and therapists that work with me, and they had their skeptical moments. I had a nurse practitioner that worked with cancer patients, and she's very medical minded, and she's like, Tilly, I gotta tell you, I didn't I didn't think any of this Jade Egg stuff would work, but she signed up for my program because she'd never had an orgasm in her life. 37 years old, had a 1.5-year-old, and 2.5 months into the program, had sex, and then she had a clitoral, G-spot, and a cervical orgasm all in the same experience. And she's like, I don't know what you did. I didn't think I would like any of this woo-woo energy stuff, but I totally believe in it now. So, yeah, I mean, you don't have to believe in it for it to work. That's the thing.
Right.
I get a lot of religious people that are like, I don't believe in crystals. I'm like, you don't have to believe in crystals.
Right.
I'm not trying to change anything about what you believe. You can believe whatever you want about God. But the healing always happens the way that, through love, and whatever that means for you. Sure. Let's do it. Yeah,
Definitely. And how does it affect pain? Because there's some people who have.
Yeah, for sure. So with women, I have a couple women in my program right now that have vulvodynia, like full on. And it's interesting because some of them, it's just during sex, but if they use a jade egg, it's fine. If they use a dildo, it's fine. But a penis, it's not fine, right? So there's all different variations of the painful sex issue. The jade egg, I haven't had a problem with any of them finding the jade egg painful, mainly because you don't really feel it in there. And that's not the point of using the thing in the first place.
Okay.
So with painful sex, it's really about learning how to relax the vaginal muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I teach the Jade Egg, it's very much healing and helping you learn to relax. There is some strength building and toning that we do too, but I always tell them to focus way more on the relaxation of the muscles than any strength or toning work, because that's partly why they're experiencing the pain, is the anticipation of it being painful. So it's like you gotta reverse that reaction in the muscles. Yeah.
Okay.
And do you, because I know you work mainly with women, and a lot of women are attached to a penis holding counterpart. Do you ever bring at any point, even if it's a one-on-one, do you ever bring their male counterparts in to kind of walk them through, or do you leave it up to the woman to kind of show or explain or teach?
No, I leave that to them. I don't ever talk to the guys about it because it is a self-practice. And yeah, I mean, a lot of people are probably like, well, that's weird. I want my partner to know what I'm doing. Okay, well, tell them about what you're doing.
Right.
Like if you can't talk about that, you probably got deeper problems going on. But yes, I mean, they can certainly have a conversation about it, but no, I don't get the men involved in it. The partners will, there's always a point in working with me where when you're working on your own sexuality long enough, it affects the relationship, and it starts to change and shift things in the relationship. So I often incorporate several other things. There's different modalities I use to help that change happen, but it's definitely not, this program is not about bringing in the partner or involving the partner at all. But if you happen to have one, I do give resources and practices to help integrate the change in the relationship.
Okay.
That's always good to know.
Yeah. Definitely. Yes. There's the change sometimes because the person's now much more knows what she wants.
Yes. or she's discovering it, and for the first time in her life, she's like, oh my God, I didn't know this was my route to turn on in pleasure. Right. And then there's often this sense of shame. Oh my God, I went all these years, all these decades, not even knowing my body or what I want and like. And now I do. And then they start to share that with a partner. And if they've never shared that before, it can feel really vulnerable, or there can be some blocks to the communication, or, sharing with them about what they're discovering about themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Do you work with virgins also?
Yeah. I've had a couple that were. I had one that almost signed up for my program, but she didn't. She was Muslim and They're very adamant about
Right.
the hymen being intact. So she didn't want to do the jade egg work because of that.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then another thing, I know that there's some people who struggle with infertility.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does this impact that in some aspect? Or
Yeah, well, I think the infertility thing is, well, if we're gonna go in tilly woo woo land, into some traditional Chinese medicine type concepts, I'm not really that I'm not that bought into Western medicine, to be honest. I respect it and I appreciate it, but I think a lot of what's available is extremely inadequate, which some of you would probably agree, especially in women's sexuality and pleasure.
no.
But fertility speaking, any block in fertility really has to do with stuck and stagnant energy in one of the female organs. So whether it's stuck ovarian energy, stuck womb energy, stuck cervical energy, all of these things can affect fertility. And if you're holding on to past traumas, be them little t traumas or big T traumas, all that stuff is stored in there. And if you've never really worked on the body based, somatic, or embodiment level, this can definitely impact fertility. So, it's another layer to the healing is that you get to work on the body at some point if you really want to experience all the pleasure available, if you really want to experience this free flow of energy. And when you unblock those energy blocks, then it's like the fertility can come back online because all of the energy's moving again. It's no longer being blocked.
Wow, that was a lot. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, yeah. But I think that is so helpful because people do not realize about the importance of energy.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, again, this isn't something that your doctor's going to tell you about.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that it changes things. I've had women that we've saved from hysterectomies, labiaplasties, all sorts of things because they decided to do this work. And it had nothing to do with a physical change per se in their medical condition other than moving energy.
Okay, so it even helps in the sense, so now you said hysterectomy, for those people who have, painful menstrual cycles or what do you call that? Fibroids.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't say that with a claim, but anecdotally, yes. Many women would say, absolutely, this has changed my life. I did have a client who had a hysterectomy scheduled in April when COVID hit.
Right.
And she signed up for my program that February before. And she was so thankful because her hysterectomy was postponed because of COVID. And by the end of her program, she was having like chunks of blood clots with every period. By the end of the program, completely gone, like none. And it was just gone because she had done some womb healing, working with womb energy to really release those blocks. So we saved her uterus.
That's good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Good. And how does it work for those who, right after having babies, sometimes that impact has.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't ever recommend using the jade egg until at least 6 weeks or until your midwife or doctor clears you for intercourse. Don't put anything up there when things are going out, that sort of thing. But most of the people that are ready for this type of work, babies are hard. It's like, just do your postpartum thing for a year and then come see me. So yeah, I usually like to take women at least a year postpartum just so that they have that initial, it's no longer about the hormones. If they're still experiencing issues, they can rule that out, that sort of thing.
Wow. Yeah. So if people are listening and they like, oh, I really want to get more information,
Yes. Well, I have a private podcast, private audio training that you can download. It's called 5 Days to Epic Sex and Pleasure for High Achieving Moms.
Okay.
And I think you've got the link right down there below.
Yes.
Or if you want the shortened link and you're just listening, you can go to www.tilly-storm.com with a dash in it, and that will take you directly there. Because for whatever reason, you have to put W's in the tillystorm.com website. I don't know. Anyway. So either go link there or type in tilly-storm.com and you'll get it too.
Well, you do some amazing work, powerful work. That's definitely necessary for the repair and restoration of these wounds out here that are going through a lot, even when they don't even know it. So,
yeah,
great work.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and I love that your pleasure is helping others achieve pleasure and healing at the same time, which is great. Sometimes those things are separated. So, yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been an awesome. Definitely check her out. And we'll be back in a moment. Thank you, Tilly.
Thank you.
Sex should not be the elephant in the room. The fourth ebook of the Improving Intimacy book series, From Bringing Intimacy Back, It's All About Sex, helps you navigate every which way you can tend to your sex life. Pulling out all the stops, dive into the sensual read about sex toys, silky linens, and date nights. Improving Intimacy, It's All About Sex is available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and paperback. Search Dr. April Brown on Amazon to view all her books on improving intimacy for yourself, spouse, and more.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Wow, that was such a powerful show.
It really was.
Yes, I mean, she's...
You don't even know how powerful it is until you've gotten into it. So I love that we had that, especially all that's going on with so many people in our wombs are in everyone's hands at this point in the world. So to know that there's someone that can help and restore, heal, and guide you to pleasure, always a plus.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she's definitely going to be a resource that I will utilize with some of my clients. Yes. So thank you. And definitely, yes. So what's coming up next?
Well, we have some great shows coming up. So on August the 11th, we have Goody Howard coming in with Sexual Pleasure. On August the 18th, we have Megan Warren coming in with Mind and Body Connection. On August the 25th, we have Debbie Marielle with Importance of Cultivating a Connecting Sex Life. And then on September the 1st, we have Roseanne Kapana Hodge discussing building relationship skills in kids. I love that one. I can't wait for that one because it starts young.
Yes. Yeah, so this has been a fantastic show. And if you're out there and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've lost my sexual desire, or I don't even know my body, or I want to have more orgasms, or I've never had an orgasm, please check out Tilly Storm. I think she's got some great techniques and practices to help you not only have pleasure, but also to heal things that may have happened to you. Yes.
Absolutely. Being able to move that energy around. That's a part of our ladies retreat that we have coming up this fall. We'll be working on that as well. So yes. Always a great thing.
Definitely. Yes. So this has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back. We hope you enjoyed it. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com and Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. Dr. April Brown's 5-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon, available in Kindle, Audible, or paperback. We'll see you next Thursday live at 3:30 p.m.